It's no secret that in the 2.5 months since its release, Mario Kart World has been an overall enjoyable time for all to experience. The normal tracks have all been memorable in their own right, and the intermissions, or connector tracks, or routes, call them what you want, I don't care, have been a somewhat controversial topic, but have also kept the experience fresh by changing the core track layouts. But then, there's one mode that I feel is one of the most underrated modes in the entirety of the Mario Kart franchise: Knockout Tour. This mad sprint from one checkpoint to the other, while mostly focused on straight lines, which has proven to be a very fun side mode that requires an entirely different skill set to master. And I'm all in for it. I recently got to cast professional gameplay of Knockout Tour at the New England Summer Cup earlier this year, and truly realized how chaotic of a mode it can be at the competitive scene. And even some of the pro players, who swear against doing intermissions, thought it was an absolute joy to experience.
I was skeptical about the Knockout Tour, but that was the most fun part of the tournament, I think. Not even just because I won. Like, that was actually, like... No, it's because you won. By the time we got to Acorn Heights, I was shaking. I could not drive. I was so nervous.
I mean, it's because it's so intense. Like, you don't expect it to be that intense, but, like, it
got real. It got very real in that.
Oh, yeah.
There is, however, one small issue with the mode: the lack of tracks. Compared to the 30 mainline tracks and the 202 intermissions, there are only 8 total knockout rallies in the game, which means the mode sadly gets repetitive much faster than just normal races. But this got me thinking, why should we stop there? And so I decided to get the creative gears turning and come up with and design 8 more Knockout Tour rallies to help expand the mode and attempt to make it a more fun experience for longer sessions. Without further ado, I present to you the Mario Kart World Knockout Tour. Now, before I dive into each of these hypothetical rallies, let me just explain how exactly I created these routes. Every route that I came up with follows the standard rally protocol. You travel from one track to another on the other side of the map, with 4 checkpoints at or near other tracks along the way, with the final checkpoint being at the final track and triggering a 1-lap shootout around said circuit. After constructing a possible route that could be used in a knockout rally, I then tested the route in free roam, making sure it was feasibly possible to complete within the average 8 to 9 minutes the pre-existing rallies take, and ensuring there were no major issues or moments where you cross over the same bit of track or road more than once in the same rally. You would be surprised to know how hard that was to figure out in some locations. Alongside this standard protocol, I stuck with 5 additional rules I set for myself. The first 3 of which are very self-explanatory and really could apply to any rally creation process. Rule number 1, each lap between 2 tracks must be an already established connection or close enough to easily connect. Simply put, the first lap of a rally cannot be Dino Dino Jungle to Dandelion Depths, as there is no pre-established connection between those 2 tracks in the base game. Basically, if there's a pre-existing intermission between 2 tracks, it can be considered a valid connection in a knockout rally. That being said, I did make a restriction barring any 4-lap route, which means that Desert Hills to Koopa Troopa Beach, Mario Circuit to Peach Stadium, and DK Spaceport to Peach Stadium will not be included in any of my rallies. So for all fans of Desert Hills to Koopa Troopa Beach who may be watching this video, I sincerely apologize. Rule number 2, checkpoints, or as I'll call them for this rule, pass-through tracks, must be possible. Again, fairly simple. If you can't get near or on to the track you're supposed to be traveling to or past without a messy method or a weird divergence, there's no reason why there should be a checkpoint at that track. This means when it comes to the rallies I created, none of them will have midway checkpoints at Bowser's Castle, Great Question Block Ruins, or Rainbow Road, as there's no feasible way to access these tracks and go through a checkpoint without crossing over a road you already traveled on. Rule number 3, the track you're traveling to cannot be a section-based circuit. Again, this is pretty self-explanatory. You don't want to have to survive 5 laps of a rally just to arrive at the final track and have to do anywhere from 2 to 6 more laps, especially with only 4 racers still in the game. For this reason, I excluded DK Spaceport, Peach Beach, Mario Circuit, and Rainbow Road from being destination tracks in any of my rallies. Technically, Mario Circuit could be an ending track for a rally if you only race on one of the 3 sections of the normal circuit, but respectfully, and for the purposes of this video, no. Rule number 4, and this one is more of a personal preference for me, but in making these rallies, I try to avoid as many repeats as possible. This rule can mainly be divided into 3 subsections, with the first 2 being that 2 different rallies should not have the same starting point, and 2 different rallies should not have the same ending point. If the goal of these new rallies is to make the mode less repetitive, what's the point if one of the rallies I make begins or ends at the same place as a rally that already exists? So with that being said, I have prevented any of the rallies I made from beginning at Desert Hills, Shy Guy Bazaar, Airship Fortress, Sky High Sundae, Peach Beach, Boo Cinema, Toad's Factory, and Bowser's Castle, as well as prevented the rallies from ending at Ground City, Desert Hills, DK Pass, Warrior Shipyard, Faraway Oasis, Peach Stadium, Great Question Block Ruins, and Acorn Heights. Now, does that mean theoretically that I could have a rally with the start track as Great Question Block Ruins and the end track as Bowser's Castle? Yes, actually, because there's no pre-existing rally that has these 2 tracks at the beginning and end tracks respectively. However, because of this rule, I would not be able to do this rally in reverse, if that makes any sense. The third step to this rule is that I tried to avoid using a single track more than 4 times across the entirety of Knockout Tour, which is mostly difficult considering there are already 3 tracks in the baseline game that have 3 separate appearances in Knockout Tour, those being Peach Stadium, Cheep Cheep Falls, and Moo Moo Meadows, which creates this very interesting barricade from the east and west sides of the map. But at the same time, this rule also enables me to create routes through less used tracks, such as Koopa's River Beach, Salty Salty Speedway, and even Dino Dino Jungle, all of which only appear in 1 rally each. So while it is a challenge, it does allow for thinking outside of the box. Finally, rule number 5 concerns checkpoints. And when it comes to those, anything goes. Now this seems like a wonky rule, but remember, this is the Dandelion Depths checkpoint for the Ice Rally. This is the Cheep Cheep Falls checkpoint in the Moon Rally. These are considered Starview Peak checkpoints, while this is considered a DK Pass checkpoint. This is considered a checkpoint for Faraway Oasis. This is considered an Airship Fortress checkpoint. This is considered a Mario Circuit checkpoint. I think you get the point. Checkpoint placement does not matter as much as you think it would. I will say that in every rally I designed, the goal was to try and make the main start-finish line, or any start-finish line within the vicinity of the track, the checkpoint. But if there's a case where this is logically not possible without some sort of weird divergence, I'll mention where the checkpoint would be ideally located. One last thing I'll mention is that if for some reason my description of the route the rally will take is either incoherent or doesn't seem to make that much sense, I will have full run-throughs of every rally I created as a separate video linked in the description, just in case you want a better visual of a specific part of any given rally's path from one track to the next. Now, with all of that covered, it's time to dive into each of the 8 Knockout Tour rallies one by one, starting off with the Propeller Rally.
The Propeller Rally begins at DK Pass, having you travel northwest on the dirt road up the hill, and leading you to go backwards up the ski section as you make your way to the first checkpoint at Starview Peak. The checkpoint for this track will either be before the glider, after the glider, or where the checkpoint is for the Spiny Rally. From Starview Peak though, you'll make your way to Boo Cinema, traveling down the boardwalk and making your way to the front entrance. After passing the checkpoint at the start line, you'll then exit out the side entrance to Boo Cinema and travel back across the boardwalk to the staircase marking the main entrance to this area. From there, you'll traverse the spooky forest to hit the highway and travel westbound to Mario Circuit. You'll go down the main entrance before hitting an S-bend to hit the third checkpoint at the start line for Mario Circuit 2, before traveling the track backwards to go over the jump and take the path to the fourth checkpoint at the main start-finish line for Dry Bones Burnout. You'll then turn around to hit this side path to exit the track before traveling over the walls of Bowser's Castle to make your way to the 5th and final checkpoint, which will trigger a 1-lap race around Airship Fortress to finish the rally. The route for this rally is pretty self-explanatory. The only part that is up in the air is the Starview Peak checkpoint and the routing from Starview Peak to Mario Circuit via Boost Cinema. But overall, this seems like a decent route from one side of the map to the other without any major issues. Plus, it adds one more rally to each of these tracks, some of which only have one other rally appearance. Also as a note, I'll be showing how many rallies each of the tracks I showcase has total between Knockout Tour and the Mockout Tour as I go along, just for easy tracking. Next up on the list is the Shine Rally. The Shine Rally begins at the very northernmost point of the map at Acorn Heights, where you'll travel down the main stretch of the road and make your way to Drybones Burnout. But before hitting the initial start line, you'll take this side path that leads to a left turn to then cross through the checkpoint and go up the final stretch in reverse. This is the exact same path you take for the Heart Rally from Airship Fortress to Mario Circuit via Drybones Burnout, except in reverse. From there, you'll take the path leading to the Fishbones Hot Springs and make your way to the back entrance of Wario Stadium before crossing the second checkpoint at the main start-finish line. After following the path to the main entrance to leave the stadium, you'll then make your way over to Choco Mountain and around the same route you would take for the Acorn Rally to reach the third checkpoint. From Choco Mountain, you'll then head down the highway to Crown City and hit the fourth checkpoint either at the Seaside start-finish line or the Central City start-finish line. Regardless of which one of these lines you use, you'll then take the normal intermission route to the 5th checkpoint at Whistle Stop Summit, beginning the final lap around said circuit to complete the rally. Now, I do realize I have a rule that says avoid as many repeats as possible, yet I'm using the exact same route that already exists in a rally. But either A, you can take an alternate path if one exists, B, you can set the checkpoint to outside of Wario Stadium and work from there, or C, you cannot really care about it since there's only so much I can do with the limits I have set otherwise. I will say though, that of all the rallies I created, this is the only case of doing the exact same path between the exact same two tracks in the exact same direction in two separate rallies. So, silver lining I guess. On to the Fruit Rally. Fittingly, we begin the Fruit Rally at Whistle Stop Summit and take the riverway toward the first checkpoint at Koopa Troopa Beach. From there, we'll pass through the beach before making our way to the side entrance of Dino Dino Jungle to hit the second checkpoint. You'll then make your way towards Salty Salty Speedway via the streets, except you'll take this left turn taking you to the back entrance so you can cross the start-finish line in the opposite direction for the fourth checkpoint. From here, you'll then go straight east out to sea to take a left turn by these sets of islands to enter into Wario Shipyard by the Wario Cave. From there, you'll hit an improvised checkpoint around the sunken ship area, and take the path from the Glacier Crossing to make your way to the final track of the rally, Sky High Sundae. You'll either take the boring standard intermission route which goes into the main entrance, or you'll go through the back entrance you traveled to Wario Shipyard from, taking a set of corners and jumps to join the track on the back straightaway, and taking the final hairpin turn before hitting the checkpoint and beginning the final lap, where you'll take one full cycle around Sky High Sundae to complete the rally. Now, I do realize that the pathing you take from Salty Salty Speedway to Wario Shipyard is not the normal intermission route and is heavily improvised. But to that, I have 2 points. Number 1, the route from Dandelion Depths to Cheep Cheep Falls in the Ice Rally is also not the normal intermission route, and is just the reverse intermission backwards. And number 2, in my opinion, this offers a more seamless connection between Salty Salty Speedway to Sky High Sundae via Wario Shipyard, without going through the entirety of Wario Shipyard or taking a sudden left turn in water before the checkpoint. Besides, it's a choice of either having a gradual left turn midway through the route, or a sharp left turn at the end of it. And unless you really like that precision water driving P-Switch mission, I don't think the latter is a good idea. Either way, let's move on to the next rally, the Rock Rally. The Rock Rally honestly might be the simplest of all the rallies I made. The race begins at DK Spaceport, where you'll glide from the top of the track before making a mad dash toward the first checkpoint at the Central City start-finish line at Crown City. From there, you'll take the route to the second checkpoint at Mario Bros. Circuit, and travel through the back entrance to head toward Shy Guy Bazaar and the third checkpoint. You'll then go through the bazaar and take a side road afterwards, putting you on the correct path to hit the fourth checkpoint at the main start-finish line at Wario Stadium, before traveling through the back entrance, past Big Donuts, and up the cliff to Bowser's Castle, where the fifth checkpoint will be located, and you'll race the final lap around. The only modification or complexity is the one stretch of road you take to connect the north entrance of Shy Guy Bazaar to the intermission route traveling to Wario Stadium, which starts by going out the south entrance of the track. But other than that, this is a very simple rally. Come to think of it, why didn't I start the Knockout Tour with this rally? Nonetheless, next up is the Coinbox Rally. The Coinbox Rally fittingly begins at the Great Question Block Ruins, which will have you glide down and take the route to Salty Speedway. From there, you'll head through the first checkpoint and the start-finish line the correct way, before taking a right turn and traveling up the hill to hit the back entrance of DK Pass and hit checkpoint 2 at the start-finish line. You'll then go straight like you're traveling on the Propeller Rally, except you'll continue down the dirt path to pass the Yoshis and head into the grassy hills to hit the main jump leading you into Dandelion Depths, where checkpoint 3 awaits. After that, you'll exit the track after crossing the bridge and make your way to Mario Circuit, except you'll take a few extra right turns than you typically take and enter in through the side path of Mario Circuit 1 that is only used for traveling to Dandelion Depths, and hit checkpoint 4 at the start line for Mario Circuit 1. You'll then turn into Mario Circuit 2, going the correct direction around the track and eventually exiting the track right before the jump, and then taking the road down to the side entrance of Toad's Factory, where you'll make a mad dash for the start-finish line to hit checkpoint 5 and start the final lap around the track to complete the rally. Now, I am aware the route I showcase in the recording of this rally is severely scuffed and seems like it's not ideal, but the main point is that you want to take this ramp into Toad's Factory. The way you get to said ramp doesn't matter, so long as you hit it. With that kerfuffle settled, on to the next rally, the Turnip Rally. The Turnip Rally begins at Cheap Cheap Falls, either at the main start-finish line or on the bridge overlooking the falls. When the rally begins, you'll travel up the road to the zigzagging clifftop road that's used in the Leaf Cup and the Ice Rally, taking a left turn at the end to hit a back entrance to Moo Moo Meadows, traveling to the main start-finish line to hit the first checkpoint. From there, you'll travel to Choco Mountain, except unlike the Grand Prix variant, you'll travel over the final hill of the track before hitting checkpoint number 2 and traveling to Mario Bros. Circuit. Once at Mario Bros. Circuit, you'll circle around the track on this path that is totally unused minus some P-Switch missions, and travel into the back entrance of Mario Bros. Circuit to hit checkpoint 3. This route is necessary, as from Mario Bros. Circuit, you'll take the right exiting out of the circuit and head over to checkpoint 4, which is located at the start-finish line at Desert Hills. This also provides a perfect natural turnaround to hit the 5th and final checkpoint at the final track at Shy Guy Bazaar, which you'll do one lap around to complete the rally. Now, when it comes to Choco Mountain to Desert Hills via Mario Bros. Circuit, there are other ways you can turn around at Mario Bros. Circuit. You can either use the path I mentioned, the normal circuit, or you can cut across the middle of the track to turn around. But I chose this exterior path because it's a unique road that gets zero attention outside of free roam. Not even battle mode is said section even touched, so it felt right to use it here when it was really needed. Next up is the Egg Rally. The Egg Rally will begin at the main start-finish line of Starview Peak, where you'll take the signature spirals down and then take a left turn to make your way to the second track at Sky High Sundae. Except, instead of going through the main start-finish line, you'll jump off the road and head down to the passageways under the track. The first checkpoint will be somewhere on this stretch of track, which will bring you to the back entrance and towards Wario Shipyard. In a complete reverse of the Fruit Rally, you'll hit the second checkpoint by the sunken ship, and then pass the Wario Cave to make your way toward Peach Beach, where you'll hit the third checkpoint. After looping around the beach and then going over the peninsula, you'll head toward Faraway Oasis and take the jump over the waterfall, before crossing over the hairpin turn to hit the fourth checkpoint at the main entrance to the track. Finally, you'll head down the normal path toward Dino Jungle, which is where you'll cross the fifth checkpoint and start your final lap around the track to complete the rally. Now, when it comes to the route around Faraway Oasis, there is an alternate route idea I had, where instead of going out the main entrance, you instead loop around the hairpin turn, go into the water, and head down the river, eventually gliding your way into the savannah to travel to Dino Jungle. Though the logistics of that in free roam is really hard to show off, and you're also fighting against the water current, which many people do not like. Either way, it's a debate between a hairpin turn or an S-bend, both of which leave a lot open for potential shortcuts to barely make the checkpoint in time, which can make for a thrilling rally experience. Now with that covered, it's time for the last of the Knockout Tour rallies, the Bell Rally. The Bell Rally will start with you driving Wario Stadium in reverse to take the giant jump, before leading you to the major halfpipe section to the side entrance of Toad's factory for checkpoint number 1. However, instead of following the route of the Moon Rally, you'll cross through the factory grounds and take a right onto the main stretch to exit through the drawbridge, and follow the path toward Moo Moo Meadows before deviating to hit Peach Stadium instead. This route could be altered by adding a glider ramp to skip a ton of off-road grass, or it could just be the basic route with nothing but the roads. Regardless, you'll hit the second checkpoint at Peach Stadium and travel directly south through the ocean on your way to Koopa Troopa Beach, where the third checkpoint is located. Once there, you'll make a left turn by combining 2 right turns and 3 left turns, a process that is so confusing when I was recording the route I actually forgot where I was going. But if you go in the right direction, you'll find yourself heading to Faraway Oasis' start-finish line at checkpoint number 4. You'll then go through around half of Faraway Oasis, eventually deviating onto a side path around the jump into the river. This side path will take you to the main road, where you'll take the route to the destination track of Salty Speedway, entering the track via a glider from the top and gliding down the canal to hit the 5th checkpoint at the start-finish line. After 1 lap around the track, you have officially completed the Knockout Tour. Now, I do recognize that the Toad's Factory to Peach Stadium connection uses a lot of the Moo Moo Meadows route, and that the path around Koopa Troopa Beach and Faraway Oasis are very complex. But these can be simplified with some simple pathing reconfigurations. If needed, the Koopa Troopa Beach checkpoint doesn't have to be the main start-finish line, or the Faraway Oasis checkpoint can be beside the actual track. But for the most part, this is a general idea of what the rally path would be if I were to create it.
And those are all 8 of the custom rallies I made as part of my Knockout Tour. But there's more to this than just that. If I can make 8 brand new Knockout Tour rallies, what's stopping anyone from making their own Knockout Tour rallies? Which is where I leave it up to you. If you have an idea for a custom rally that could be implemented into Mario Kart World, then feel free to leave it in the comments below. And there's a chance I might include it in a future upcoming video where I design and analyze your potential knockout rallies. Now, when making your own rallies, you have a choice. You can either use all 5 of the rules that I used when I was making my knockout rallies, or you can use part of the rules, say the first 3 rules, or maybe the first 3 in the 5th rule, or just a couple of rules, or, you know what? How about you can use none of the rules? It's up to you on what rules you want to define whenever you make your knockout rallies. They're your rallies after all. Nonetheless, whichever rules you decide to follow, make sure at minimum you include which tracks you want the rally to start and end at, and whichever rallies you want to be the checkpoints. Or you can leave it up to the creative and imagination for me to try and decide which tracks I think would be best to connect to from point A to point B. But that is going to do it for my personal Mario Kart World Knockout Tour. I hope all of you enjoyed all the custom routes I made through all 8 of these rallies, and I'm interested to see what you guys come up with in the comments for potential rallies that also could be added to the game at a future date. But with all that being said, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. My name has been Bowsy, and until we meet again, I hope you have yourselves a good one.